Hey everyone, I'm Selena Hill, and this is the new norm on Black Enterprise. On today's episode, I have the privilege to speak with Lynae Vanee, a three-time NAACP Image Award nominee, multi-hyphenate creator, poet, writer, and the host of The People's Brief, a new unfiltered news and commentary series on Revolt. Lynae is perhaps best known for hosting Parking Lot Pimpin', a viral digital series where she offered bold takes on race, history, and power dynamics. Altogether, Lynae's viral videos have garnered over hundreds of millions of views. Furthermore, she has worked with the likes of Issa Rae and Amanda Seales and interviewed Vice President Kamala Harris. Lynae, thank you so much for being here with us today.
Thank you for having me.
So I want to start by talking about your new show on Revolt, The People's Brief. What excites you the most about this show?
I think having creative control and autonomy. It's really a show that I put myself into, my heart into, and a team that I have around me, my producers, my showrunners, my writers. We are all of the same mind, and that is that we want to tell beautiful stories. We want to tell necessary stories. We want to make people think. We want to hold people's hand when we encourage them to think more critically about the world around them, because the world around them is ever shifting and changing and molding itself around its ability to push certain groups of people to the bottom. And we want them to be enfranchised, not just with, knowledge of their power to vote, but also just knowledge and nuance and a vocabulary to advocate for themselves in everyday life.
Lynae, why is The People's Brief, this show, important in today's time?
Why isn't it important in today's time? There's a lot going on politically. There's a lot going on with our government structure and the way that it's impacting public agencies. And we suffer from hive mindset. We suffer from not only hive mindset, but a group that is consolidating power with a hive mindset. So just kind of going with the flow, no matter who they step on. So it is so important for us and imperative for us to still be able to take a peek behind the veil and see what's going on, to be able to counteract these things with movements for justice, freedom, power, and empowerment, all the things.
In the first episode in which you featured Angela Rye, one of the things you two talked about was hope versus resilience. Mm-hmm. And I wanted to get your thoughts, have you elaborate a little bit on that, because in today's landscape where DEI, migrants, free speech, progressive media platforms, and civil liberties are under attack, what brings you hope for the future of Black America?
Yeah, I think things are coming to a head in a way that something has to give and something has to change. And more often than not, in times of turmoil, it requires a group of people to move differently. We had, I won't say a similar situation, but we had the pandemic take place in 2020, and the way we moved, our new normal, had to shift and change. And now the same thing is happening. So we owe the People's Brief to continue to shine a light on what is happening, to remind people we're not just going to go back to normal. We're not just going to go back to normal, especially if we don't do anything, if we're not proactive, if we're not utilizing strategy. And so for me, hope is a little bit different than resilience, because hope means there's something to hope for. And I think resilience is the ability to withstand even as things are unchanging. So while I do think both are necessary, I'm trying my best to be a voice that provides a positive outlook, even when things look really bad, because there is always an opportunity to reach that goal.
To your point, we live in abnormal times. Mm-hmm. Again, just the way the Trump administration is moving is unprecedented in many ways. And the way that our communities, the Black community has always been under attack, but it just feels a little bit heavier, especially because the other side is so unabashed and unapologetic about their agenda, which feels like it is literally dismantling policy, laws, and initiatives that have held our communities together, uplifted us, and they're really just erasing decades of work that we put in throughout this country. So again, when it comes to your voice and your platform, what role do you see yourself doing in this entire situation that we're in?
Yeah, I am grateful that Revolt is Black owned. I am grateful that Revolt is independent in a way that it can't be impacted. I'm grateful that our leadership is creator first. So they want to do what the creators want to do, but also that we have the ability to protect our own work, because voices like mine in other realms that maybe take up space on white platforms are being stamped out, are being pushed out. Instead of being able to be a voice that has the ability to stick and stand through it all, I'm really grateful for that, to play the role, to continue to, I hate to continue to use words like shine a light and lift the veil, but so many things are kept in the dark, or at least attempted to be kept in the dark, or at least presented in this mystified way so that the common man cannot understand it. And so I think of my show as today's version of Thomas Paine's Common Sense, and that it is designed to make sure that all people, most people who may not have access to this information or the jargon to understand what's going on with these heady headlines and like political language that may seem like it doesn't actually affect them, for them to be able to see right through it, to have that clear like magnifying glass to get to the heart of the issue.
Lynae, I feel like the other side is really strategic.
Absolutely.
And in how they move and coalescing a broad coalition around their goals and maintaining their power. Yes. Our side doesn't feel like that. A lot of us, first of all, we don't trust the Democratic Party. We feel like they are, some of us would say, incompetent at best, disconnected at worst, when it comes there. And obviously we don't have a central leadership. I'm not saying that's good or bad, but, and we also don't have what feels like the same collective movement that we had back in 2020 after George Floyd died and Black Lives Matter went global. What is, I guess the question is, what can we do? What should we do? What is your opinion and take on getting us together as a community so that we can be informed, educated, and empowered, and make sure that we are fighting for to preserve our communities, to preserve our culture, and not just focused on like individualism?
Yeah, that individualism is the big one. It is the largest detractor from community, I think, that exists. But we talked about it on the show. You're right. Those people are always organizing and strategizing. They don't let up. They have an ongoing plan, have had this particular plan that was just renamed Project 2025, that had this plan in place for decades to just be able to execute en masse at the moment they could be able to seize power. And so we also speak about how more often than not, Black organization is sparked by rage and sparked by trauma, sparked by emotion. And I think what we have to realize is when we point back to older movements, particularly the civil rights movement, I think what we fail to understand is that those people were affected by rage, trauma, and tragedy every single day. The violence that they faced was almost all encompassing for them. And because of individualism, we're able to believe that these things don't really affect us as much anymore. So we don't have to be as focused on the problem as groups of us once were. So we have to recognize that if tragedy is going to be a part of our everyday lives, and it might not be every single one of us every day, but the Black community is always under attack. So the Black community does have to always be on defense. The Black community does have to always be aware of what's going on and strategizing and organizing within themselves, along with political parties. And I 100% understand people believing that the Democratic Party might be disconnected at best, incompetent at worst. There is, what am I looking for? They've got infrastructure that, if used the correct way, could allow us to propel in a particular way that we might not have just creating our own new political party or just only focus on grassroots organization. It is all a part of the plan. Everybody has to play their part. And we live in the United States of America. There's never been an institution that has rocked with rocked with us the right way the whole way. There's always going to be a history of racism. There's always going to be a history of ignoring Black voices or pushing Black things to the side, or trying to replace language about working people versus Black people being afraid to say our names. Those things are not going to go away. And it's not to say that we can't challenge these groups for their failure to see us consistently, but we also have to use the tools at our disposal. So what I'm saying is voting does matter. And my personal opinion, voting Democrat, a party that has a strong infrastructure, is helpful until we have enough people in independent parties, until we have enough people in Green Party, whatever, what have you, that have the platform necessary to be able to seize power. We can't be disjointed as a community. We have to think, I won't say with the hive mindset in terms of being sheep and just following people to the slaughter, but we do have to think as a community. Like, your problem is not separate from mine. You as a straight Black man is not separate from my problem as a straight Black woman, or anyone as a queer Black woman, or anyone as a Black trans person. We all in this together, and we have to recognize that and act like it, and defend our interests. And it's not just us, it's our allies. All oppression is linked. All oppression looks the same. It's just got different faces. And because of those different faces, it may present in a different way, but it all has the same exact ingredients. And we've got to get very familiar with those ingredients to be able to call them out where they are and disallow anyone to be treated any kind of way. Because, as has been evidenced over and over and over again, if you let them do it to somebody over there, they will do it to your Black behind right here. And it's getting closer and closer to us. Hence, the presidency we're all now sitting under. And I won't say tragedy in terms of, maybe Black death, but our rights being lost to us is knocking at the door. They threaten it every day. Yes. So, just to answer your question, we have to be knowledgeable of what options are out there, whether that's grassroots organization, activism, town hall meetings, whether it's when it's time for elections, you being a poll watcher, a poll observer. There are so many different roles that we could play. And all those roles are necessary for us to play together. We cannot rag on somebody else's strategy to get free, unless it's not a strategy to get free and it's a strategy to get privilege.
Well said. Thank you for that, Lynae. When it comes to your journey, you started off as a high school teacher. Mm-hmm. Blossomed into this social media sensation, and then, went viral with a number of your series and the takes that you gave on there, from, the most popular being parking lot pimping. Mm-hmm. Lynae, tell us about just that journey and sort of what the ride has been for you.
The journey has been crazy. It was not the plan, but, God laughs at our plans. It's been a beautiful journey. I've been able to meet some really good people along the way to help me tell my stories. I was able to enlist some of my students who were sitting at home bored during COVID to come intern with me. Students that were supposed to be in college classes for film and production and not really getting that hands-on experience. And I've even taken them with me now to the show at the Revolt. So it's been a beautiful full circle journey. Even at my launch party, a young woman who was interviewing me happened to be one of my previous students. A gentleman in the crowd was one of my previous students, and he's a successful rapper now. And it's just a really cool thing to see how much growth has transpired over the 5 years and what we're able to do with this show because of the reputation that I built for myself. And I would say, like, the craziest calls I got were from my manager to come post up during the Black History Month and interview some actors, directors that I really respect and value. When the former vice president of the United States called and said, we're going to be in Atlanta, can we come to your show? And I also would love to just point out or just show my gratitude for really being able to retain ownership of my voice throughout the process and stay committed to authenticity and integrity, because no one came to my show that I didn't want to be there, and I didn't speak to anyone I didn't want to speak to. And I just think that's allowed me to forge really great relationships, but also a lot of respect in the industry. And I'm just really excited to see where we can take it now.
Did you always have this vision for yourself to have a massive platform and to be the voice of the people, and also have, to talk to so many people in leadership?
No, I didn't. It's funny. I remember when I was teaching, my kids would ask me every year if I always knew I wanted to be a teacher, because I was a younger teacher, like fresh out of a master's program. And I would say, no, I don't want to be a teacher right now. And they said, well, why? You're so good at it. And I would always say to them, just because you're good at a thing doesn't mean that's the thing that you're called to do. And so I already had this draw to be outside of the classroom. And if I'm being honest, this fear not to get stuck, because education is a thing that you can get stuck in, and it's not very rewarding for all the work and effort that you have to put in. But I would, at the end of this conversation, say to them, I'm pretty sure I'm going to be famous one day. For what? Who knows? But it's going to be for being myself. And not that fame was a desire of mine, but I'm an artist. I've always done poetry and spoken word, and always had these visions of bringing these concepts to life visually through media, entertainment, narrative, and storytelling. And in order for those things to support you in life, people got to like your work. And so I did think that I would have a platform, but I did not know this is how it would come to be.
Wow. And now that it's here, what is it? What are some of your aspirations for yourself, your career, and even the People's Brief?
I think for the People's Brief, I want to build a space where so many different voices that represent different audiences and community can come and say things people might not expect them to say, to have their eyes opened, for there to be vulnerable conversations, and to really put something healthy out into the cultural stratosphere, into the zeitgeist, because in our community, we can often gravitate towards negativity, and that's not what we want to do. I feel like we still have this unspoken oath amongst ourselves, the same oath the doctors take, and that's to do no harm. And we also just want to, in the process of not doing any harm, also make sure we're making people more well. Being more interested into the well-being of our community, the mental health and stability, by offering them solutions, opportunities to be seen, and things of that nature. I think for me, the People's Brief is just the beginning. I've been pitching shows for 5 years, whether it's scripted or unscripted, and I just want to continue to tell stories that make people in my community feel seen and heard and valued and protected.
Did you bring the concept to Revolt, or did the Revolt bring this concept to you?
Revolt brought the concept to me. I did have similar ideas, and I think I met with Revolt years ago, but timing just never made sense for us. And so I hadn't spoken to Revolt in some time. Me personally, I hadn't. But, when God has things in store for you, he's going to put people in rooms to talk about you that you didn't know were having the conversation. And at the top of this year, I just got a phone call that said, hey, Lynae, Revolt wants to give you a show. Shocked and appalled. But I said, okay, I'm ready.
God's timing.
For sure.
God's timing. Right. What can people expect from the People's Brief?
They can expect a good time. They can expect to learn more. They can expect to see some of their favorites. They can expect to see some people they don't know that might be in their community. I would say, if I could give a description of the show, as a combination of 60 Minutes tonight with John Oliver, or Last Week Tonight with John Oliver. Sorry, John. I'm messing up your show name. A little bit of SNL, maybe some Amber Ruffin, The Daily Show, but with Lynae Vanee. I'll be out in the field with it sometimes. We got some man on the street, but it'll be a good time. So I'm not keeping it brief anymore. And that's okay, because we needed more time.
Yes. I love that. And, ultimately, when it comes to the advancement of our people, what is it that you hope to see, and how do you hope to contribute to that goal?
Unity. I want us to go as hard about each other and not take no nonsense about each other. And that's going to take a lot of unlearning and a lot of healing as a community. I want to deconstruct the walls we've created for ourselves. Well, by influence of white supremacy, I want us to tear those walls down so we can embrace one another and hold each other up as we need it, and move like the strong force we were meant to. And I just hope to do that by, as I've been saying, continuing to tell stories that make all my people feel seen. And I don't necessarily need to beat people over the head with stuff either. So I want them to want to come to the table. And I've been grateful to be successful in that on my Instagram show. So now with more time, I want to continue those same vibes and bring more people to the table, and engage them in the conversation.
Amazing. Lynae, please let us know how we can tune in and watch the People's Brief and any other projects that you are working on now or may have coming up.
Absolutely. Please go ahead and get that Revolt app. Watch us on Revolt TV. We air at 9 on Tuesdays. You can also watch us on any kind of cable-esque channel. If you got Sling, Vizio, Xfinity, DirecTV, anything like that, there's a Revolt channel on it. You can watch it. We stream the next day at 11 a.m. and you can also watch YouTube clips. Go ahead and follow me at Lynae Vanee and find my YouTube as well so you can see the new things that I'm working on. Yeah.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Lynae, for your time today and the work, the effort, the energy that you are inserting into the movement for all of us and for all of our liberation. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
If you want more exclusive interviews and content, be sure to subscribe to the Black Enterprise YouTube channel. And don't forget to like and share this video.